What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're not actually inside the gun room, we're outside, and we're gonna smoke some ribs. Let's get right into it. Alright, now to start off with these ribs, I'm going to take them out of the packaging, remove the membrane off the back, which I got a cool trick I'll show you, and get these all seasoned up. I like to dry them off with a paper towel right when I start, and then I like to add a little bit of mustard to it. If you follow Malcolm Reed at all, he actually did a taste test comparing if using the mustard actually made a difference in the taste or the tenderness of the ribs, and it actually didn't really make a difference. I like to use it anyway, just because I think it holds the spices on a little bit better to these ribs. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Slide them right out. And these are nice looking, man. I got these from Walmart. And that's actually where I get majority of my meat from, believe it or not. And it has never done me wrong. It's great quality for a great price. I think these were $3.25 a pound for these. And they look great. They turn out great every single time. So just want to dry them off. Get all that moisture off of them. We're going to be adding that mustard, as I said, as a binder for it. And now this membrane on the back here is what you want to focus on and get off. There's a very thin piece of almost skin on here that you want to try to get off. It's on every single rack. If you buy them from a butcher, you can ask them to do it. If not, it's very simple to do yourself. Some people peel from this end and try to peel off that way. Using a paper towel definitely helps. But I saw this, and I wanted to share it with you guys. If you shove a knife underneath, just to lift up like that, you see that membrane coming loose. Take your paper towel, shove your thumb in there, and just pull up on that membrane. Once you got a good hold of it and it's all the way across, you put your fingers around it, pull the ribs down, and pull it straight up. That'll pull off both sides for you, nice and easy. Pull the other side there, and you're good to go. That membrane you want to get off, it's going to help the ribs fall off the bone a little bit better. Now if you want to, you can do some additional trimming here. Get some of this extra skin off. Maybe some of this here that's just going to burn in the cook. You get rid of all that if you want to. However picky you want to be. I'm not going to be too picky with them. I'm just putting them on for the family today. So a lot of people like to trim all this off. I think I'll trim this off and just put it on the grill, have it for a little snack as I'm cooking. Nothing wrong with it. But this is going to cook a little bit faster than the rest of that rib meat, and you could end up getting this burn or just a bad taste on it. So cut it off, throw it on the smoker while you're grilling, have it halfway through, and you'll be good to go. Next thing we want to do is our mustard rub. Doesn't take too much. Any kind of yellow mustard will do. Put a little bit on there and just rub it in. Again, this doesn't affect the flavor at all. You can't taste the mustard over the rub. So if you're not a fan of mustard, you don't have to use it. I like to use it, but you cannot taste the difference. So if you're not a fan of mustard, but you still want to give this a try, it's not going to ruin your ribs at all. Some people don't season the bones. I like to, because all that seasoning is going to soak in the middle of these bones here, and that's what you're going to taste. I like to season everything equally. Now with seasoning these, I'm going to keep it really simple. I have right here from Whiskey Bent called the Glazing Bird. They have all sorts of rubs. I'm also going to use a little bit of the Fix, which is just a all-purpose rub. It's salt, pepper, garlic. I like to put a little bit on there to get the salt quality, the salt content, and then I like the moisture to be pulled from the meat and really get soaked into it. So I'm going to take a little bit of this AP. Just a little bit, because there is salt and pepper and everything in this as well, so you don't need to over salt it. And then I like to put a nice layer. Look at that. Beautiful. Go ahead and pat that in so it sticks real nice. Not too concerned about the back. Put a little bit more of this AP on there if the wind will participate and not blow it everywhere on me. There we go. Then a little bit of this Glazing Bird. And now I want this to go on pretty thick here. This is going to make a nice crust to these ribs. Even though we're going to end up putting barbecue sauce on them as well, I really want to put it on top here, nice and thick. Now we're going to let that sit. I do have another rack of ribs that I'm going to end up prepping, so I'm going to get those prepped and ready to go. Start that smoker and throw them on. Alright, so these have been cooking for about an hour now. I'm cooking them at 250 degrees for the entire cook. Like I said before, it should take about 3 to 4 hours, and I'm going to show you if they're ready for the next step now. What you want to look for to see if they're ready, easy way to do it's a swipe test. Take your finger and just swipe on the meat. You see how the rub's coming off? See how it's not sticking to the meat? These aren't quite done yet or ready for the wrapping step. So we're going to let these go until you get to the point where you can swipe that seasoning with your finger and it all stays on the meat. That means the outside is nice and cooked, that seasoning's going to stay right where you want it, and you can go on to wrapping. We'll check back in on them in about 30-40 minutes, and we'll see how they look. Alright, so it's been about 2 hours now. Let's pop it open and see how they look. Alright, like I said before, you want to make sure, see how that seasoning's not coming off now? Sticking right to the meat like it should be. Perfect and ready to be wrapped. Alright, so now when I wrap these, I like to use about a tablespoon or two of butter cut up. A lot of people will use PK, the liquid butter, margarine, whatever you want to use, but you want something that's going to have a fat content in there. Take a little bit of honey. Drizzle that down there. Just to add a little bit of sweetness to go with that heat that's coming from that seasoning. If you don't want honey, if you want them to be hotter, you can go ahead and skip this step. You just want to put anything down there that's going to add the flavor to the end of your cook. And then what I like to do is actually add a little bit more seasoning on top of there as well to help that stick to the ribs for this final part here. Now you're going to want to take your ribs and put them meat side down on top of that butter. You can see the color coming through on these. This is where I like to take the time to pull off these little pieces of fat, blood that's coming out of the bones here. Just kind of trim them up a little bit with your fingers. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. We're not doing this for a competition. We're just doing these to eat them. And go ahead and wrap them up. I do use 2 layers of foil on this because once these bones start to pull apart in this next step here, you don't want those bones poking through the foil and having all the juices leak out and all that flavor leak out along with it. So I use 2 layers here. Doesn't have to be anything pretty. You're just sealing it up so no liquid can get out. And keep all that flavor in there. The last thing I do when I'm doing these ribs and wrapping them, now that we got everything in there, I leave one side of this boat open. And I like to take about half of a beer and pour it in there. Just to keep things moist. It adds to a lot of the tenderness of it. You don't have to use beer. You can use apple juice, orange juice, water, whatever you want to use, a seltzer. None of the flavor is going to get caught in there. You just want to add some moisture to help these stay tender and to pull away from that bone. Once you're all set, and this is what you got, you throw it right back on the grill. After about an hour, you should be good to go. Alright guys, so it's been about 4.5 hours now. We're going to take a look at these ribs since they've been wrapped and see what that bone pull away looks like. First thing you want to do is take a look. Oh, that juice down there. And then you want to take a look at these bones. Look how they're pulling away, how it's rendering away from the meat here. And these bones, if you do it right, they're just going to fall right out. It's going to be a clean bone every single time. So these are fantastic right now, but I want to go a little bit further. I'm going to take these out of the foil. You can see back here that I have my barbecue sauce heating up just to make sure it goes on hot, the same temperature as the ribs. Get these ribs out, put them on there, do a little bit of barbecue sauce and have them tack up and tighten up back to that bone so it doesn't pull out as easy and it has a little bit of bite to it. So we're going to do that and we'll be right back. Alright, so you can see these have a fantastic color right now. That red's really coming through. You can see that bone pull coming all the way through here. And now we just want to take a good amount of this barbecue sauce. This is just Sweet Baby Ray's. I poured a little bit of beer in there. And we just want to put a little sauce onto these. You don't want it to be too much right now. It's going to end up being gummy instead of the tacky flavor that you're really getting from it. If you want to add a little bit more at the end, feel free. I like to do it just gently and then let anybody else add more barbecue sauce if they want to once they actually get their ribs. I don't want to control how much barbecue sauce somebody gets on their ribs. So we're going to do this, brush it on, we're going to close the lid and let everything tack up. These bones are going to pull back a little bit more. The meat's going to pull back a little bit more and expose these ribs. And it's just going to be a fantastic display once we're done with this. We're going to let this cook for another 30 minutes now. We're going to crank up the heat a little bit and we'll let you know what it looks like. And there you have it. That's how to cook the ribs on a Kamado Joe, and this is what we're left with. So when you're trying to cut these up, you want to flip them meat side down. If we can do that without the bones breaking apart. When you do that, you can really see where the bones are, and it makes it a lot easier to cut. Go ahead and cut them off in whatever sections you want. It's not going to take much. These are extremely tender. And then this is what you're left with. A fantastic looking rack of ribs. Unfortunately, they're falling off the bone. There's nothing wrong with that. And there you have it. Baby back ribs, fantastic, easy, and smoked on the Kamado Joe. You can do this with any type of grill you want to use. As long as it can hold a temperature for a long period of time, you're going to be okay. These took about 4 to 5 hours to cook from start to finish, and I'm telling you, the quality speaks for itself. Fantastic bite, and the meat literally pulls off the bone. Now, what more can you ask for? Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Make sure you like, subscribe to the video, and as always, stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.